Is spring really the best time to list your property for sale in New York City? We'll demystify this topic in the following video. I'm Nick at HouseIt. We can save you money if you're buying, selling, or renting here in New York City. Learn how by visiting houseit.com. And please do check out our closing cost calculators for buyer and seller to give you a very detailed estimate of what you'll expect to pay if you end up doing a transaction here in New York City. So let's go ahead and get started. So, is spring really the best time to list your property in New York City? Many clients come to us and they are fixated on the idea of listing by April 1st. Is this focus warranted, or is it perhaps a bit exaggerated? We're going to talk about this in the following video. And by extension, we're going to also talk about how you should approach this as a buyer if you're thinking about making a purchase and you're nearing the spring period. So for starters, if we take a step back, we will concede that there certainly is a seasonality effect at play when it comes to real estate in New York City. In the spring, there's definitely more activity, and similarly in the fall, there is also a bit more activity compared to the summer and the winter. In general, that means that there are more listings which come to market in both of these seasons. Now, of course, if you increase supply and you don't increase demand, prices will fall, and that's certainly not what happens in the spring and the fall. Conversely, you actually have more buyers who come to the market. So in general, the spring period is a bit more fluid, similar to the fall. There's a little bit more going on, there's more activity, and certainly if you're a seller, you do want to be listing your property during a period when you have more eyeballs looking at your home. But of course, we wouldn't go so far as to say that in the spring, pricing is straight up higher than what it would otherwise be, if you listed in the summer or the winter. That is far from clear. Generally speaking, the prevailing pricing trend continues regardless of season. But of course, there could be perhaps a change in direction during a busier period because there's more volume, more properties are closing. So, if we're creating a graph of pricing, we have more data points. So maybe we can more easily detect some sort of a trend. But in general, if you are a seller, definitely don't want to list, January or February if you can avoid it. But quite frankly, once you get to March 1st or beyond, the market has already started picking up. And to be fair, the market oftentimes accelerates literally right after the holidays, January 1st as well. So definitely don't want to be sort of fixated on the idea of an April 1st listing because there are other things that could go in the opposite direction and work against you by way of waiting. For example, based on your particular listing, there may be a scenario in early February where there is very limited inventory on the market. Your property is super unique, and it might actually be a very, very smart idea to get the property listed right there before more people bring their homes to market and thereby increase the level of competition. So we never really want to generalize about this. It really depends on your specific property. That being said, an argument can certainly be made in the case of a super unique property. If you have a very, very unique home that requires a certain type of buyer, I would definitely feel more comfortable listing that during the spring for the reason we mentioned. Namely, you have more people looking to buy. You have a greater number of eyeballs. So the odds are that you're going to find that one eccentric person who is interested in buying your property. So now let's go ahead and flip to the buyer side. We just talked a little bit about how pricing isn't necessarily always better during the spring or the fall. There simply is more volume. So, as a buyer, you are going to see more options if you start your search in the spring or perhaps in the fall as well. So, if you are looking for a very specific type of property, you probably will have better results if you wait for the spring. But, if you're just looking for, a standard New York City apartment, like in a, post-war building, 50-story building, something like that, you don't have to wait until new listings hit the market to really find something that's suitable for your criteria. So that being said, we would definitely consider that you start searching before the spring because there are always new sellers coming to market. And, certainly there is a possibility that you have fewer eyeballs looking at a home in, the winter or early in the year. So it might actually be a better outcome for you if you actually consider searching earlier on. So in other words, we don't think you should just wait until April 1st to start looking for homes. You should be very fluid in the process. You should be looking all the time. Whenever you think you're ready to buy, start looking at properties. start taking mental notes of pricing trends, what you like, what you don't like. But yes, once you hit the spring, you are going to see a greater number of options for you to take a look at. The other thing we would mention as well is the nuance of potentially finding sellers who mispriced their property. So if you start looking for a property in January and it was listed maybe, let's say, in October or November and it was mispriced, that seller is extremely vulnerable because they mispriced it. So they screwed up the momentum on the listing to begin with. And now they've been basically dragged through the mud through the winter, reducing the pricing, constantly losing attention by way of newer listings that come to market with more reasonable pricing. So what I mean to say is, if you're looking to really find like an opportunity, you definitely want to consider listings that have been on the market through the winter that are struggling, because those sellers are definitely going to be more amenable to negotiating. So we hope you found this video to be helpful. Any comments, leave them below, and please subscribe to our channel if you enjoyed our content. We'll see you on the next one.